Well, good evening, everyone. It is 7:15 on Wednesday, September 8th. My name is Deanne Shaw, and I am president of the Aberdeen City Council. And this is our Committee of the Whole meeting. Our agenda calls for us to start with a roll call. So if the city clerk would please read the roll.
All right, Andrews.
Here.
Ellis.
Yes, here.
Francie.
Here.
Gordon. Councilmember Gordon.
Yeah.
Kochman.
Here.
Mackey.
Here.
Meskis.
Present.
Rich Rod.
Here.
Ross.
Here.
Shaw.
Here.
Short.
Here.
Taylor.
Here.
And Shave.
Here.
All right.
Thank you. We do not have any guest speakers tonight, so we'll go to item C on our agenda. And this is where we call on our department heads to share what they can say, that might not be on the agenda, but will help keep the council informed. We'll start with our Community Development Director, Lisa Scott. I don't see her on the call. Are you filling in for her this week, Mayor?
No, I'm not. She's on vacation and she didn't leave any information.
Okay. Next is our Deputy Corporation Counsel, Forrest Worgum.
The only thing I can really add is we recently submitted our public defender grant. We should be able to get an announcement. As for that, we just continue to show up and prosecute the cases that occur in the city. So that's it.
Thank you. We know you're very busy, and so thanks for joining us tonight.
No problem.
Next is, and also Forrest is also speaking on behalf of the courts. And so I assume there's nothing Judge Solon wanted us to know. So we'll go to our Finance Director. Is there a report from the Finance Director? Are you filling in for her this week, Mayor?
No, she didn't leave anything with me.
Okay.
She's also off on vacation.
Okay. Next is our Fire Chief, Tom Hubbard.
Good evening, Tom Hubbard, Fire Chief, Aberdeen Fire Department. Public safety met at 6:30 tonight, and I will defer comments to Chair Connie Andrews.
Thank you. Next is our Human Resources Director, Debbie Mills. But I think the mayor is filling in for her this week as well.
And she didn't leave me anything to report.
Thank you. Our Parks Director, Stacy Barnum.
I'm here. Yay, so I have one item on the agenda. Tonight from Finance Committee is a request for the council to approve for the mayor to sign a contract with Ecological Land Services for them to do an update on the wetlands delineation for the property that's adjacent to the Bishop Athletic Complex. This is the property that we're considering for the future RV park. Lisa Scott does have funds available in the Brownfield Development Fund, which is the fund that was originally used to pay for the wetlands delineation that was done in 2017. She has $34,000 available. And so we would just use 9,000 of that. There would not be a supplemental budget request. And then I'd like to thank, speaking of the RV park, the city council members from the 3 committees that attended the RV park committee meeting. So I hope that was informational for all of you. And tomorrow we'll be interviewing the consultant for the capital facilities plan, request for proposals. So hopefully on the September 22nd council agenda, we'll have a report for you regarding the selection of a consultant. And I also wanted to let the council know that museum board member Dr. Vicki Mitchell submitted her resignation to the board. So we do have an opening, and I believe the mayor hopes to have an appointment for your approval at the next city council meeting. And
Thank
that's all
you.
that I have.
Does anyone have any questions for Director Barnum? Seeing none. Next is Police Chief Steve Shoemate, but I see Deputy Chief Jay Staten is on the line, so I'm not sure if we're going to hear from the mayor or the Deputy Chief.
Well, I was actually thinking about just referring to the mayor and let him come up with something for us. But since everybody keeps putting him on the spot, I'll go ahead and I'll refer to Councilman Andrews. We did meet at Public Safety, and we actually have nothing from the police department for the council, but there's just a brief information that Councilwoman Andrews will share with everyone. Other than that, I just got a text from the chief, and he has his grandkid sitting on his knee. So I know he's not attending this even from afar.
Well, thank you. Does anyone have any questions for our Deputy Chief? Seeing none. Next is our Public Works Director, Rick Sanger.
Good evening. Public Works met yesterday at 4 o'clock. We only have two light agenda, just 2 items, and I'll leave that to our committee chair. I'm happy to answer any questions that anybody might have of me, though.
I was wondering if you could give us an update on the former tassel. What is going on in the parking lot at City Hall?
We are to be totally honest, we're struggling. The police have had changed rules. They have no ability to enforce. Code enforcement has apparently no ability to enforce, and Public Works definitely has no ability to enforce. So we were down to 6 campers. We're back up to, I believe, 10 or 11 in a very small space. There's no resources out there. It's a bad situation. I'm not sure what the answers are. We've reached out to legal counsel for some advice and rules going forward, but we have not heard back. It's been a couple of weeks, so we're hopeful that we'll hear from our legal counsel soon. We don't have a city attorney on staff right now, so we're relying on a third party. So I know the mayor's aware of it, and we've talked, and he's looking to the third party counsel as well to try and help us figure out how to move forward and get that shut down.
Thank you. Does anyone have any questions for our Public Works Director? Seeing none. Next on our agenda is the mayor's report. Do you have anything for us tonight, Mayor Shade?
Well, I'll just give a little bit of an update on the tassel. I've asked our council to come up with something based on our ordinances that we've had in the past, or that we changed not too far in the past, to provide spaces for campers downtown. What we also changed during that time was to take any criminal part out of the ability of the police department. So if somebody's trespassing, and like out in our parking lot, the police can go out there and write them a $54 ticket day after day after day after day, and there's no teeth in it. So if we change that ordinance partially back, it'll give the police department better control over that. So anyway, that's being worked on, and that'll be coming up for everybody's review in the, I hope, near future. And that's about it.
Okay, thank you. Does anyone have any questions for the mayor? Councilmember Ellis.
Thank you.
Mayor, any updates on when we're going to advertise for a new city attorney?
That's being done right now.
Oh, very good. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Can you share where that's being done? Because I actually checked the website before the meeting and I didn't see anything on there.
I cannot share with what process is actually being done, but I asked HR to get on that over a week ago.
Thank you.
Last week I was semi-vacationing, so it was before that.
Thank you. So if that's all we have from the mayor, next will be our.
Deanne, Rick has his hands up.
Oh, I'm sorry. Well, thank you. I can always count on you to be watching the room.
I just wanted to let the mayor know that I did speak with HR today, and Alicia, the HR tech, said that nothing has been put out for the city attorney, because I was asking as well, because that's a position that we rely on daily, and was curious about when that was going to go out, and she said she's heard nothing. So
I did see that the city engineer is posted, so that's good.
I really pushed on that one. I thank the mayor for bending a little rule there to get that posted in-house right away.
Great. Okay. Seeing no one else, I will move to our non-standing committee reports. And this is an opportunity for council members to share what they've been up to since we last met that might not be on the agenda. So Councilmember Andrews.
I met with the Aberdeen Museum Board last evening, and we just talked about budget issues and things that might want to be coming forward. And we also talked about the Friends of the Museum is having a couple of meetings, and just if anybody wants to attend. And the board, some of the board members are going to try to attend. I know the Friends sent a letter to all the city council people, so if you guys want to let them know your feelings individually, you can fill out their survey and send it back to them to show our support for Museum Matters. So that's really great. And just a side note on what the mayor was mentioning about our ordinances, you cannot make homelessness illegal. So I'm interested to see how that's going to play out, because that's very, very strong language from the 9th District Court that you cannot criminalize homelessness. All right, thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Ellis.
Thank you. I went to the Friends of the Museum to see the new exhibit about Aberdeen football, and ended up having a conversation with some of the volunteers there about museum concerns. And I'm looking forward to going to the information session coming up that they're sponsoring. That's it.
Thank you. Councilmember Francie.
Hi, I have nothing to report this week.
Councilmember Gordon.
Okay, just a couple things that it's probably of interest. With Chris leaving, we are desperate not to wait till the first of the year, but we need to get our engineers right now, and not just one, we need two. We have a lot of programs down here, money sitting up there for a pump station, for Fry Creek, for these to get these shovel ready. I hate to see us let these things slide. We have to wait another couple of years. Right now, the way the money's set, we should be able to start doing something in a year, have permits, everything. So please, 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 as I say, everybody, get us a couple of engineers. We really desperately need it. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Cashman.
Good evening. I have nothing to report at this time.
Thank you. Councilmember Mackey.
Good evening, everybody. I do not have anything tonight also. But thank you.
Councilmember Meskis.
Thank you very much. So I did attend the workshop meeting on the RV park that's being built or proposed. And that's going to be a very interesting project. I think it's going to be a really good asset to our city, something to attract people that might not have stopped here before. So I'm really looking forward to seeing how that progresses. And other than that, I have other comments that I will save for other places.
Thank you. Councilmember Richrod.
There's a meeting of the Downtown Association, but that's going to happen tomorrow. So my time machine's not working right now. So we'll have to do that next week.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember Ross.
Nothing tonight, thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Short
Nothing tonight, thank you.
and Councilmember Taylor.
Nothing, thank you.
And so I will just end it by sharing with the council that I was able to attend the open house for the RFA, the Regional Fire Authority. That and wow, if you could have been a fly on the wall, our fire chief, Tom Hubbard, is really impressive. I mean, it's an open house, it's an hour and a half, it's in the middle of the week. So, there weren't a lot of people there, but wow, we need to put Chief Hubbard on the road. He's got a great act going on there. And he was complimented admirably by the assistant chiefs from both the Aberdeen and the Hoquiam Fire Department. We all should be so proud of this effort that they are putting forward to try the extra hours they're all putting in to try and share with our voters the work that has gone into this proposal. And I think that I would like, by way of helping them get their message out, they have a PowerPoint that is outstanding. And Corey Schmid from Hoquiam, their finance director, does an amazing job explaining, the bottom line. Well, how much is this going to, okay, that all sounds good. We know you work hard, but how much is this going to cost me, And we all know that we've been getting Cadillac service for the basic buck for a lot of years now. And so it is going to cost a little bit more. I would like to schedule Chief Hubbard, and if he wants to invite his assistant chiefs, we don't get to see, these guys very often. I'd like to schedule them for one of our workshops before this thing goes to the voters by way of giving them another opportunity to reach the public, if that's okay with the council. If I don't hear any objections, I'm going to go ahead and give them, unless the chief activates his video and says, no, Deanne, don't do that. I would like to see the council see the whole presentation.
We would definitely be happy to do that. And I don't want to steal Tawny's thunder, but because of what's going on with COVID ramping up, next week, we're going to tape a Zoom recording. It will not be an hour and a half. We're going to get it down to 45 minutes or less, and then it'll be posted both websites. Also, Councilperson Ellis had requested that, and it's been on our plan to do that. And next week we're going to go live and we'll essentially do the same presentation. It'll be taped on Zoom so that it can be posted to both websites. But if you'd like us to present the abbreviated version at a workshop, we'd be happy to do so.
Thank you so much. I guess what I'm just trying to share is that you have, I think this council is willing to give you the floor if you want to bring a presentation to us and the community via our Zoom meetings. So whatever you want to share and you think is best is what I'll try and schedule with the council's blessing. So thank you. With that being everything, I think if council members don't have anything else they want to ask about, we are done with our committee of the whole meeting, and I'll turn it over to the mayor.
Thank you. This is Mayor Shave. It's Wednesday, September 8th, 2021 at 7:34, and I call the council meeting to order. Public comments and public hearing comments are included during the Zoom video meetings. The public was notified that if they wish to speak during the meeting, an email be sent to the city clerk. Then indicate if they would like to speak or have the clerk read the comment. If they desire to comment live, they will be called on during the meeting and allowed to speak for 3 minutes. Written comments are provided before the meeting, have been provided to city council members, and will be read into the record up to the current 3-minute time limit. City clerk, will you please take roll call?
Yes. Andrews,
Here.
Ellis,
Here.
Francie,
I'm here.
Gordon,
Here.
Kochman,
Here.
Mackey,
Here,
Meskis,
Present.
Rich Rod,
Here,
Ross,
Here,
Shaw,
Here,
Short,
Here.
Taylor,
Here.
Shave.
Here.
Mayor Shea,
Here.
I would like to move for approval of the minutes of the previous meeting.
Motion
Second.
been made and seconded to approve the minutes of the previous meeting. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
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 Motion carries. Are there any additions or deletions? Okay. Tonight, we have public comments on all topics, or if you want to comment at a public hearing, a written request must be submitted to the city clerk. City clerk, will you please note for the record any public comments that have been submitted?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I have 3 public comments. The first is quite lengthy, so I will try to read it in a timely fashion within the time period. So bear with me on this one. Dated August 25th, 2021, to the Aberdeen, Washington Mayor and City Council. This letter is in regards to the recent altercation that occurred between Aberdeen City Councilor Kennedy Meskis, councilor, against Aberdeen businessman Don Suker for exercising his First Amendment rights. Regardless of how distasteful the content of said business owner's storefront sign was to the offended councilor, I'm sending you a post-mortem analysis such that the city strongly consider disciplinary action against said councilor. As is the right of any citizen in a free country, the action of Kennedy Meskis as a citizen to express his or her personal value on the content of Suker's freedom of speech was certainly available as an option. But as a councilor, he, she was and is held to a higher standard under city charter, and he, she should both, number 1, defend the city against potentially litigious action. See relevant section from Aberdeen City Charter below. Section 1, privileges and powers. Quote, the city of Aberdeen hereby asserts and declares its corporate existence under that name as a city of the first class, and as such, it shall have perpetual succession, may sue and be sued, end quote. Number 2, prevent, not encourage or instigate in any way righteous or potentially righteous activity. See relevant section from Aberdeen City Charter below. Section 37, powers of council enumerated. The city council of the city shall have power and authority. Section 9, riots, to prevent and restrain any riot or righteous assemblages, disturbance of any peace or disorderly conduct in any place, house, or street in the city. Unfortunately, given councilor failed to uphold both of these duties and violated the provisions of the municipal charter in the process, said councilor's actions must thereby be deemed as gross misconduct by a public official. Said councilor not only violated said powers by seemingly orchestrating the altercation and very likely having it conveniently recorded, but then further announced and instigated a potentially dangerous direct action against business owner Suker's business and the local Aberdeen community on Saturday, August 7th, 2021 at 10 a.m. Said action involved Antifa as potential conspiratorial rioters and caused approximately 70 supporters with American flags to congregate in front of Mr. Sukers in his defense. Although violence did not ensue during that morning, it very easily could have escalated into a melee of destruction and physical harm beyond the cosmopolitan negative press that was generated across our ubiquitous system of social media. Further, Counselor then identified with Antifa by hashtagging a derogatory Twitter post with hashtag anti-fascist, and which got the local Northwest Antifa chapter to broadcast, quote, "They'd be standing by to teach that old guy a lesson," end quote. Fortunately, the Antifa chapter backed down and postponed their incursion when they found out that they would be grossly outnumbered by supporters of Suker. The reality is that said Antifa incursion was likely postponed to a later date when Antifa thugs would not encounter any resistance. So, as intentionally incited and organized by Counselor, and who is now ultimately responsible for generation of a potential future threat, Suker now lives under the constant specter of physical violence that may very likely ensue sometime in the coming weeks or months.
Are we out of time yet? I see
Yes.
you looking. Were you looking, Deanne?
Yeah, when she started, I set my timer for 3 minutes.
And we're
Are we
good.
done?
Okay.
We're done.
Okay, I'll just say it was signed Bo Hunter Council. There was no ward listed. Public comment number 2 was received Thursday, September 2nd. Mayor Shave and city council members. This mandate for vaccinations for city, state, healthcare, and other workers, business owners is unconstitutional and imposes on our American rights. This medical treatment mandate cannot stand as a condition for employment. I would ask you all to consider writing a resolution for Aberdeen such as these examples below, and to encourage our businesses to allow freedom of choice for our own bodies. Please stand up to government overreach and preserve our constitutional rights. I would like to request this be a part of public comments. Thank you, and Tara Croft, Ward 4. Then she has included some links to Woodland City Council unanimously passing a resolution, as well as Cowlitz County Commissioners and 2 of their resolutions that were passed. Then we have public comment number 3 that was just submitted via email received today, Wednesday, September 8th. Please read our comment to the meeting. Thank you. It has been 3 years since the fire which destroyed the Armory and the Aberdeen Museum of History. Taking 1/3 of the entrance settlement for levies is not really, quote, putting skin in the game, end quote. Instead, it is, quote, taking money from Peter to pay Paul, end quote. How would Aberdeen pay for the levy and other projects if there were not this windfall from the fire disaster? It makes sense to use the 22 million Armory fire insurance settlement, replacing what we lost, our Aberdeen Museum. Perhaps building on the location of the former Armory, or perhaps building on the location of the former poorhouse where the, quote, Gateway Center is proposed. Apparently, the city has already committed 7 million of the insurance funds to build the Gateway Center, even though its purpose is rather fuzzy. We hope you will consider another proposal for the Gateway Center. Travelers hurry through Aberdeen on their way to somewhere else, but we could provide reasons for them to stop here by building a new museum/welcome station near the Wishkah Bridge. We already have a parking lot electric charging station there. We already have a park with picnic benches there. Travelers look for clean bathrooms with running water, which we definitely would need to provide if we want tourists. If tourists stop for those reasons, they could check out our museum and perhaps the Chamber of Commerce if located there for information about our history and our attractions. They might decide to visit businesses we already have downtown, and they might make Aberdeen a regular stop on their way to the beaches or the mountains. We know we will always have tourists passing through town. Why don't we make it easy for them to stop here and get to know us? We could choose to spend that 7 million plus grant money and whatever remains from 22 million insurance money enhancing travelers' experiences here while preserving our history. A win for the city, a win for the museum, a win for travelers, and a proper use of the insurance settlement. Signed, Greg and Becky Durr, Ward 3. And that is our public comments for this evening.
Thank you. Next item on the agenda is the Finance Committee Chair Katzman.
Good evening, everyone. Finance met briefly tonight, very briefly, at 6 o'clock via Zoom, and we discussed the one item that is on the agenda. So I'll go ahead and get started. There's not much else to report out from that meeting this evening. But first of all, I would make a motion that we approve the expenditures and payroll.
Second.
Motion was made and seconded to approve the expenditures and payroll. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, City Clerk, this is a roll call vote.
Andrews?
Read the
First that.
amounts, please.
Motion to approve accounts payable in the total amount of $1,550,484.03 and payroll in the total amount of $820,068.36. Check numbers 25242 through 25251 and 74435 through 7460 and wires 1274 through 1278. And now I go to roll call. Andrews?
Yes.
Ellis?
Yes.
Francie?
Yes.
Gordon?
yes,
Kochman?
Yes.
Mackey?
yes,
Meskis?
Yes.
Rich Rod?
Yes.
Ross?
Yes.
Shaw?
Yes.
Short?
Yes.
Taylor?
yes,
Mr. Mayor, motion is approved unanimous.
Thank you.
And last item we have on agenda tonight for finance is a report from finance and the Parks Director recommending that the city council authorize the mayor to sign the agreement with Ecological Land Services for an amount not to exceed $9,000. I move we adopt this report.
I second.
Motion was made and seconded to adopt this report. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries.
That's all from finance.
Thank you. Public Works Committee Chair Report, Meskis.
Thank you very much. Public Works Committee met yesterday a little after 4, and unfortunately, we did have a discussion about Chris Koski's soon departure. I just wanted to take a moment to thank Chris very much for his years of service to our city. Very much you are irreplaceable, but we're going to do our best, and you know, it's going to be a tough one, and hopefully, you know, you can look back and see a lot of the projects that you have helped get started and carry on, come to fruition, and be able to look back and say, hey, I was part of that. I got to do that, and you know, this is, you know, some good stories there. So anyhow, again, Chris, thank you. You will be very much missed. And we also discussed our reports and agenda items. We also discussed a bit of old business. We actually asked Public Works to do a little bit of a comparison between the current herbicide they use for controlling the growth along our roads and that kind of thing, which is a extremely diluted version of Roundup, compared to a more ecologically conservative version called Axe. And the Roundup that we use currently costs about 7 cents a gallon because of the dilution factor and everything else. The Axe was $3.50 a gallon, so big price difference. And the Axe actually did not do as good of a job as the city would need it to do in order to switch. So you know, hopefully we can, you know, as different herbicides come along, we can, you know, do the same kind of test. I think it was a really good effort on the Public Works Department's part to do that for us and come back with some really relevant data. And we did also discuss some of the issues with the Tassel closure and how that's impacting Public Works and that it is causing a lot of strife back there. So anyhow, we will go ahead and move on to our reports. And first we have a report from Public Works and the Public Works Director recommending that the City Council shall authorize the mayor to sign and execute agreement number WQC 2021 Aber PW-00072 for design improvements to the city's wastewater treatment plant headworks. I move we adopt this report.
Second.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to adopt this report. Is there any discussion? Under discussion, Council President Shaw.
Did we skip the public hearing?
We did. I was going to bring that up after we got through that. So just a little maneuvering. Any other
Which public
discussion?
hearing? Oh.
Hearing
Did we
none.
forget to add something to the agenda?
We did. We'll get back to it.
Okay.
Any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor of the report, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, the first thing on the Public Works agenda was to open the public hearing for the southwest corner of Lee Street and Southwest Boulevard alley for right of way.
Okay, that is not on the agenda I have. So the agenda I was sent in email does not have that.
Okay.
Is that an artifact, Director Sanger? Because it's on, yeah, I don't see it on the official agenda, but I do see it on my notes.
I thought we went over this last week. We set the last council meeting, we set by resolution to set a public hearing, and that was scheduled for this week, I believe. Chris, are you there?
Yeah, this one we had initially had scheduled it for this evening, but we put the committee report and resolution out to set a new public hearing for September 22nd due to some issues with the process. So the public hearing that is in your notes is actually scheduled for September 22nd at this time.
That works.
Thanks, Chris.
That's better than having a public hearing that was never advertised, so great.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I thought that public hearing got moved ahead, so.
Yep, that's correct. Okay, moving forward.
Okay, back to reports and communications. Last, we have a report from Public Works and the Public Works Director recommending that the City Council shall authorize the city engineer to sign Amendment 2 for a budget redistribution of funds between tasks and change the scope of work within agreement number WRFA-1921-Aber PW-00006. I move we adopt this report.
Second.
Motion was made and seconded to adopt this report. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
And that is all from Public Works.
Thank you. Public Safety Committee Chair Report, Andrews.
Public Safety met this evening at 6:30 via Zoom. We have one item on the agenda, but before I get to that, Deputy Chief Stanton didn't have a lot to talk about tonight, but we do have a public service officer, Dylan Bettenbaugh, who's just started and should be sworn in next week. Stephen Ayers, who is the current police services officer, is moving to patrol. So when the chief returns, both of them will be sworn in. They're hoping to get another opening out for the PSO and for entry-level police officer. There's a total of 3 officers all retiring within the next 6 months and a possible 4th not too far down the line. Aberdeen Fire Department, the fire service specialist report came out, as well as the call statistics. The fire specialist, she went to 25 homes for smoke alarm sweep with D personnel, and 18 smoke alarms were placed, as well as some home fire safety education. She also goes out with the Grays Harbor Opioid Quick Response Team. They had 17 E911 calls for overdoses in the month of July. The chief noted that there's fentanyl in the harbor right now, and it is being laced. Other drugs are being laced with fentanyl without the user's knowledge. So that is, making those numbers rise. In the last month, there was 544 incidences. 424 of those were rescue and emergency medical service calls alone. 424.
Wow.
There were 24 fires, but there were 6 false alarm calls, 47 service calls, 23 good intent calls, but 424 emergency medical service calls. That's quite a bit. Then on the agenda tonight, the one item we have is about the agreement with Tacoma Community College. It's just a housekeeping agreement because we've had this agreement that if their students need to do a ride along, they can come to Aberdeen to do a ride along. It's a great program, gets people in our area as well. As far as the chief mentioned, the Regional Fire Authority, they're going to be doing a Zoom meeting that people can watch at their leisure that will be posted on both cities' websites. And they are developing a way that people can ask questions and do feedback, submit them so that they can answer them later. So let's move to the one item on the agenda. So there's a report from Public Safety and the Fire Chief recommending that the Fire Chief be authorized to sign the clinical affiliation agreement between Tacoma Community College and the City of Aberdeen. I move we accept this report.
Trud second.
Motion was made and seconded to accept this report. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
That's it from Public Safety.
Thank you. And there are no special agenda items tonight, so we'll move on to City Council comments. Are there any City Council comments? Councilmember Meskis.
Thank you very much. I just have a couple of things I wanted to go over really quick. It's been a really trying last week talking to quite a few members of our homeless community and other members of our city about a lot of different issues going on. First, I want to actually talk about the museum a little bit because it is a hot topic. I am in no way opposed to our city having a museum. I think it's a fantastic asset to our city. I think right now is the wrong time to be working on that project. We have a lot of other things that we can be working on to make sure that our economic backbone to the city is as such to actually support doing things like building a museum. These other projects, thankfully, we actually have a funding source to pull on for them because those are going to actually help build the economic backbone of the city of Aberdeen and make it viable so that we can actually support a museum and the entire city around it. Because as I said previously, if the city's underwater, it doesn't matter if we have a museum, you're not going to be floating along in a museum. So, we need to make good conscious decisions at the particular times as to how we're going to spend those monies and make those monies actually work for us, because that's part of our job. So it might not be, what you want to see right this second, but, it's like a kid in a candy shop. It's like you want that candy bar, but, it's not what you actually need right that second. You actually need a sandwich, or a bottle of juice. So, as we make a lot of these decisions, I would just like everybody to know that me personally, I really do want to see a museum. I want to see, these things that we have available for display out there. It's just, I also want to see a really good plan as to how that's going to be implemented. And I also want to see a economic structure within our city that can actually support that. The other thing I want to bring up is Tassel and the fact that we had an ad hoc committee for addressing the homeless situation. It wound up being about Tassel mostly, but from my recollection, it was actually initially created to address the situation of homelessness in our city. And we have not had a meeting of that ad hoc committee in quite some time. The homeless situation is not going away. It's not going to go away until every single person in our city is housed. So I would really like to encourage that we get that committee back in session and have some discussions on how we can actively work with our homeless people and come up with solutions that can work for them, work for the city, and just get this situation under control, because right now it is not under control. We were hoping that our county would actually have a plan in effect, and they failed on that. We put a lot of faith into them to actually do something, and we have nothing. That doesn't mean that we don't stop, or that we stop. That means we don't stop. That means we continue. So I'm sorry, if any ordinance comes before this council that would make being homeless illegal, I can tell you now, I am not going to vote for it. I would like to sit down with everybody and bring members of the homeless community together to find some solutions. That's all I have. Thank you.
Councilmember Ellis.
Thank you, Mayor. At our last Public Works meeting, Chris Koski mentioned that Public Works as well as Public Safety has made quite a bit of progress on a revision to the parking ordinance. And it looks like that could be coming back to the Public Works Committee relatively soon. So just a heads up that I'm hoping we'll have something we can look at and follow up on before too long.
Councilmember Gordon.
Hi, back what I talked about earlier before about making sure we replace Chris and get someone else to go with him. We also need to replace our attorney, and whoever we get needs an extra attorney for help. We can't do anything. We can't make laws or rules. Rick's hands are tied along with everybody else until we have someone that he can go to negotiate rule changes, or to talk to the state or anybody else about making changes on our rules on homeless down here. Our hands are tied till we get somebody. To get somebody on both these positions, we're going to have to be willing to put out a little bit more money out. So that means someplace along the line, and we're not talking about during the budget, we're talking about now, somewhere down the line, we're going to have to sit down as a council and say, we're going to do a little cut in here or a little cut in there, or something has to give, so we have the funds that we can compete with the I-5 corridor to get some quality people down here. And until we do that, you guys are just blowing smoke. You're doing nothing but just talking to hear yourself talk. Thank you.
Anyone else? Council President Shaw.
Well, thank you, Councilmember Gordon. I agree that we need to be looking at how to stay and remain competitive. I also want to thank Chris Koski for his service and share that I'm just glad you're still going to be, if we have to lose you, at least you're still on Grays Harbor. And I think, you know, one of the things that we can do is regarding tassel. I would offer a motion that Director Sanger be asked to work with our Community Development Director and schedule a meeting of the Council's Ad Hoc Committee on Homelessness.
Is that a motion?
That's a motion.
Second.
Motion was made and seconded to schedule an ad hoc committee meeting on tassel. That's the only ad hoc committee that we had.
And the actual title, Councilmember Meskis is correct. It is the Ad Hoc Committee on Homelessness, I believe.
Okay, I've never heard it called that before, so.
I know we abbreviated it. It became a vernacular.
Oh, good, okay. Is there any discussion? Under discussion, Councilmember Ellis.
I would be interested in being on that committee.
I believe we have room. There's not a quorum yet, so I think we can, we'll check the last mailing list, and if there's room without creating a quorum, you are welcome.
Any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Is there any other discussion from the council members?
Just one more thing.
Yes.
So I just wanted to briefly share with the council that regarding the conflict of interest matter I brought to the council at our last meeting. I just share that of interest right now is our finance director and our personnel director are both out of the office. And that means this week the mayor is the direct supervisor of both departments. But that's, you know, kind of beside the point. The point I want to share is that I have been in contact with the Attorney General's office and the State Auditor's office. This is a request any citizen can make. They will provide an independent outside review on whether the mayor's hiring of a close relative should have come to the Personnel Committee and this council before it was finalized. And that's all. And that's all I'm asking for. And so sometimes waiting for an auditor's opinion is like watching ice melt, but we deserve to know whether this matter should have come to us. And so I've asked them to look at it and they've said they will. And I just wanted to share that with the council.
Thank you.
Any other discussions? Seeing none, we'll move on.
Mayor Shave, Councilmember Richrod has his hand up.
Councilmember Richrod, sorry.
Well, this is a little bit more mundane, I guess. One thing I wanted to ask about on behalf of the downtown committee is the idea of, I believe, renaming I Street as Stan Foreman Way. And I was going to ask about the process for that. It would hold for any street, but what is the process to do that? And I had another question, which is unrelated. So, there was, I think Councilmember Ellis may know about this. There was a focus group or an ad hoc committee or something on noise and other nuisances that had been formed, and had that has anything come out of that? A constituent has written, I think you might have received a letter too, that concerning, in this case, vibration in the street and all that, but she was asking about whether or not that committee or group has met. Do you know anything about that?
Councilmember Ross?
I can just say I was asked to be a part of that committee, but I've heard nothing more since that request.
Okay.
And I asked Deanne about that, and her response was that I think it's still, the committee's still being formed.
I had a representative from every committee except public safety. And with everything that's been going on, I had not finalized who all was going to be on that committee. The idea is to have a representative from each committee and then open it up to the council so that we have, 6 or fewer on there if there's more interest. But it's not fallen through the cracks, but it's just been a lot going on.
Okay. Any other discussion? Seeing none, I'll move forward to, we have executive session. We have an executive session to discuss with legal counsel representing the agency matters relating to agency enforcement actions, or to discuss with legal counsel representing the agency litigation or potential litigation to which the agency, the governing body, or the member acting in an official capacity is or is likely to become a party, when public knowledge regarding the discussion is likely to result in adverse legal or financial consequence to the agency. Is there a motion to move to executive session?
So moved for 45 minutes.
Second.
Thank you. Motion's been made and seconded to move to executive session for 45 minutes. There'll be no action and anticipated afterwards. Is any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, we will recess for 45 minutes. We're missing Margot and who else?
Frank.
Yeah. Oh, look at that. All right, now we're just missing Margot. And one more minute. It's the longest minute. So we're still missing Margot, but this is Mayor Shave. It's now 8:53 and the recess is over. I call this meeting back to order. Councilmember Ross.
Move we adjourn.
Wait,
Second.
Wait.
Councilmember Andrews, did you have something?
yes. So I would like to, in light of what we received via our email, I would like to ask the council if they want to have an executive session now about that matter.
Yes.
No,
So
no.
so that's one. All right, I make a motion that we go into executive session to discuss a matter that was brought forward in, let's see, what's the right word? And brought forward to us that isn't of a sensitive nature. So we should discuss it in executive session and not in open council.
Second.
I'm gonna rule that out, motion out of order, because there's no setup for an executive session for us to go into at this time. And it needs to be set up prior to this. Councilmember Ross, would you repeat your motion, please?
I don't think we can
So
do.
I would, can I just say something just for the council's edification? I think Councilmember Andrews it would be under Section I of the Open Public Meetings Act. And I agree that the meeting was ended, but Councilmember Andrews had every expectation to think that our meeting would not have ended abruptly like it did, because she had put in a valid request that was shared with everybody that she was hoping to discuss this matter in executive session tonight. And as council president, I didn't have any reason to believe that we would be cut off after the first matter we discussed. So, but the situation being as it is, Councilmember Andrews, I actually think that we can arrange to discuss this matter at a future council meeting, but I do think it needs to be discussed. And but I support the idea that you had every reason to think that we would have stayed in session longer.
Thank you.
Okay, there was a motion to adjourn and it was seconded. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
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 There's no vote on that one.
Aye.
We are adjourned.
Good night, everybody.
Good night,
Good
everybody.
night.